So thank you for joining us for our webinar today, where we're going to focus all about best use of affiliates for digital marketing coming into Q4, and particularly around peak. We've got a guest speaker, Jacob from Top Cashback, and we've got one of the Modo 25 affiliate managers, performance managers, who's going to be talking to us all about her experiences and knowledge around how to help you maximize affiliates coming into Q4. And I think so we're going to cover lots of different topics, lots of different discussions around, are affiliates just goal hangers? Are people like Top Cashback just pinching the bottom of the funnel? So we're going to let them defend themselves and talk about new ideas and strategies they've got. So please put your questions in the chat if you've got any specific questions for us or for the guys from Top Cashback. We will have a chance at the end to go through any sort of Q&A that you have. We're also live streaming this on to LinkedIn, and also we'll share a copy of the recording afterwards. So first of all, thank you for joining us. I'm John Redman. I'm the founder of Modo 25 and Ask Bosco, and I'll just share a few slides to sort of explain why we believe we're authorized to talk about this. So if you just stand by, I will just share some slides. So hopefully you can all see my screen, and in a minute I'll invite Claudia and Jacob onto the screen. So at Modo 25, there's two sides to our business. One is we have a full service digital marketing support agency. We're slightly different to a normal agency. We actually teach people how to do things and train up your teams, help you recruit your teams and all those sorts of things. So it's very different to a normal type of agency. And what sits behind that is our digital marketing AI SaaS platform, which I built with one of the founders of Skyscanner, which enables us to predict where to spend your money. So, and our whole existence, and the reason Claudia gets out of bed in the morning, is to help companies like you make more money from their online marketing. And anybody who comes on to the session today, so as a thank you for turning up, if you email me direct, john@modo25.com, we will put together a bit of a mini audit for you and give you some sort of strategy specific to your business advice coming into the Q4. And we normally charge a minimum of £1,200 for that. So if you want to take advantage of that, just email me, john@modo25, mention the affiliate strategy, and we will tee that up for you. I'm just checking my slides are visible, because someone's just put a message in saying my slides aren't visible. Hopefully they are now. Abby, can you send me a message just to confirm they are? Yes, we can. Thank you. So there's a slightly bigger picture behind our business. And again, not only are we unusual that we help people in-house their digital marketing, what sits behind Modo 25 is a much bigger purpose. Modo is actually the name of an orphan from a charity in Uganda called One More Child. And we raise money for these guys with all the different events and activities we support and get involved with. We raise over £200,000 a year to support 280 children in Jinja, Uganda. And then the actual name of the gentleman who runs the charity over there for us is called Bosco, and we decided to name our technology after Bosco. So we're much more than just your typical sort of digital business, and our sort of purpose is to help and realize the potential of our team, so Claudia and the wider team, and then we can help our clients, and then ultimately we'll have some money and some fundraising to help those less fortunate than us. And we want to do that by providing people ultimately with all the right tools, identify the right opportunities so that people can prosper and take control, whether that be you as a client, you want to take control of your own digital marketing future, or whether that be the children in Jinja in Uganda. So we're much more than digital marketing. Two slides on Bosco. So Bosco uses big data, machine learning and AI ultimately to empower brands, retailers and agencies to save time and make more money. And it's the question we're trying to answer for either agencies and or brands is, where do I invest my next pound, my next dollar, my next euro? And sometimes it feels a bit like you might be gambling with your budgets and all your online media. So that's a little bit about us. I'm now going to ask Jacob and Claudia to switch their cameras on, come onto stage, and we'll stop sharing and we'll get into it. Hi guys, how are we doing?
All good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, very good. I'm in a bit of a sweaty London, in our London office at the moment. I'm glad of the aircon in the office, but London's like 32 degrees, so it's very warm. I'm sure Jacob's just around the corner and you've felt the same this morning.
Yeah, our aircon has actually broken today, so yeah, really.
Come round and join us this afternoon. Come and see us. We're just around the corner. So I suppose, can you both just do a quick introduction, a little bit about yourself, how long you've been working affiliates, and then we'll get straight into the hard questions.
Yeah, of course. So everyone, so I'm Claudia. So I am an affiliate manager here at Modo25. So I've been at Modo25 just under a year and a half now. Prior to that, I was working in affiliate marketing at Misguided and also the Hook Group. So kind of got agency and brand side across lots of different verticals. So at the Hook Group, I was on the Ingenuity side where I was looking after different brands across different territories. So yeah, that's pretty much my experience in a nutshell.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, oh, sorry, go on, John.
No, I was just going to say Jacob.
Peter. Yeah, hi guys, I'm Jacob, so I'm partnerships manager here at Top Cashback. Been with the business just over 5 years now, so I started actually as a student placement through my uni course. I did, instead of my third year, I worked here and then kind of rejoined after I graduated. So yeah, this is kind of my only job in affiliates, but yeah, quite a nice place to be, all in all.
So it's all you know, it's everything you know.
It is, yes. I'm heavily publisher biased, probably.
And I suppose we'll start with a sort of question which we often get asked by clients, and I'm sure Claudia's got a view on this as well, but you can sort of defend yourself from Top Cashback side, is that a lot of the sites and publishers like yourself are very much sort of bottom of funnel goal hangers and pinching money they would have already got anyway. And I suppose if you would chuck that question, how would you respond, and how can we give people listening in confidence that affiliates is going to add some sort of incrementality? We'll get into measurement later, right? Because that's a big topic. We could probably do a whole webinar just on measurement. But how would you sort of defend that sort of discussion, and what would you be saying as Top Cashback?
Yeah, sure. It is obviously a question we do get a fair bit. I think for me, the main thing is now Top Cashback are very much a brand in our own right. So a lot of the advertisers that we have on site, actually, our marketing spend is now far more than theirs. So I don't know if anyone on has seen like the TV and radio ads that we ran quite heavily over Q4 last year, and probably will over this year as well.
You're giving us, is that an exclusive? There's going to be some TV for Top Cashback in Q4 to support the campaigns.
It's not a new ad. It'll be the same ad, but yeah, it will be about across Q4. So yeah, I think with kind of all that activity, we now feel that we are very much our own brand. So a lot of people actually now start their journey, their shopping journey with Top Cashback. So that, whether that is if I want to buy a new t-shirt, I go onto the menswear section on site, and then I browse what's going to give me the most cash back and kind of the best overall deal. If I say wanted, I don't know, a plain black t-shirt like I'm wearing today. So I think that's kind of our argument, is that we are very much like from the top to the bottom now, and we do have
almost like a marketplace model rather than just the discount affiliate model. And Claudia clearly didn't get the brief for the black t-shirt.
No.
But so from that scenario, if we had a new client come on board, I suppose, yeah, we've not in the past necessarily, I'm sure Claudia has, but I've not necessarily talked to them and said, well, hang on, think about all the marketing Top Cashback are doing. They're then doing their newsletters and emails, and you might get incremental new customers that didn't even know about your brand. And is that sort of the thing you see from clients?
Yeah, definitely, to an extent. I think that is kind of an argument if we're trying to onboard a new brand or something. It is all of your competitors are working with us. If you're not live with us, they're just going to shop elsewhere. They're not going to shop with your brands, as in a loyal Top Cashback customer. So yeah, we kind of see the sales would just go elsewhere rather than stay with the same brand, perhaps outside of affiliates or cashback in particular.
And Claudia, how would you answer that question if a client asked you what's your view on this?
Yeah, it is, like you say, a very common question we're getting. But one thing I always recommend to clients is looking at booking exposure with Top Cashback, like a newsletter send, for instance, and we can then see exactly how many people have clicked through from that newsletter and actually made a purchase. So that would be seen most incremental rather than just being live on the site and see, how many people have actually, how many people might have converted anyway. But with having like a newsletter send or having some exposure live, we can actually attribute those customers to that newsletter and think that kind of newsletter has pushed people to purchase. So that's something that I would always recommend to clients. Obviously, sometimes they might not want to invest before seeing if anything's incremental, but just things like Jacob said in terms of like trying to stress that it is more of a marketplace. Everything that we do and everywhere that we are live with as a brand or an affiliate publisher is just increasing that brand awareness. And kind of really trying to kind of push people at whichever stage of the funnel they may be.
Yeah, and is it a case that we can go on Top Cashback without offering massive additional cashback and discounts, and we can just list and there's an entry level commission, or do we always have to have some knock it out of the park commission?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of the both. I think it's really important to have some sort of awareness of what cashback rates and stuff competitors are doing, just to ensure that you obviously are competitive amongst them. We do quite a lot of campaigns kind of around like flash rates and stuff now, which are actually performing really well. So again, coming back to kind of whole incrementality piece, where we're seeing a massive uplift where the rates increased by X%, that I guess kind of proves incrementality in itself as well.
And if I'm a brand considering affiliates or considering Top Cashback with you guys, and I can see my competitors are on there, can you give me some sort of steer as to what they're offering, what the deals are? Because again, there's no point in going on there listing myself and then still not getting the traffic because we're not competitive. So how much information can you share and can't you share?
Yeah, definitely. I think in that kind of instance, we're more than happy to give kind of ideas of what sort of volumes they're seeing through Top Cashback. And then once they are live, we're happy to like kind of look at market share and share a voice requests to kind of show the overall size of the category and overall volume. So I think on that, just kind of talk to us and let us know if you are a brand, what do you need us to provide for you to kind of go live. There's definitely loads of insights and stuff that we obviously do have and are happy to share with brands.
And Claudia, you obviously manage lots of different publishers, and we have lots of different campaigns live for different clients. What are we seeing now in terms of clients' attitude towards discount codes and cashback, and how are people sort of approaching it?
It kind of does vary brand to brand. One thing though that I would say is without the cost of living crisis, I do think that has increased the kind of prevalence of voucher and cashback. Just because a lot of people are wanting like a further incentive to purchase, especially when there's a lot of competition in the market. So that's something that we've been really trying to work into our strategy for certain brands this year. It is still kind of, some brands still do have the kind of preconception, they are just like you say, goal hangers, but I think that's where running specific exposure with publishers like a newsletter comes into it, running like some incrementality tests, looking at kind of attribution models in Google Analytics, like which publishers are driving the most amount of last click sales versus which are driving first click sales, and then we can see actually at which stage in the journey people are converting. So that's something that we do look at as well with all our clients, like make sure that we're not just looking at sales just on a last click basis, which obviously affiliates kind of is predominantly a lot of the time, but looking at kind of are any other publishers driving a lot of first click sales as well.
Yeah, almost that's a whole separate webinar about attribution and measurement, but yeah. It is understanding, I suppose, the incrementality of what's going on. And I suppose one other thing that I know is often a frustration is, can we set, and I suppose either of you can answer this, but can we set different commissions if we already know it's a customer versus a new customer. Because if I was a retailer, and I know retailers have, there's several retailers tuned in now, is I'm happy to pay more for a new customer. I'm happy to get that sale from an existing customer. I don't really want to be paying the same. So how would that work?
Yeah, definitely. That's something you can set up across all publishers, not just cashback. So you can just set it up in the affiliate network. So work out if you want to push more new customers, have a high percentage commission that new customers, that publishers who drive new customers will get versus existing. You can also do it at like a product level, at like a category level, AOV level, which is something that a lot of cashback partners recommend. So having like higher commission rates or higher cashback rates on higher AOV spends to really try and kind of push the AOV up on site as well. So there's lots of different possibilities. I think brands shouldn't be wary that every single customer will get X amount of cashback. You can really tailor it to exactly what your strategy is and what you want out of an individual campaign.
Yes, I suppose you could use the affiliate campaign to push certain stuff if you've got excess stock, or if you're just trying to clear the warehouse. It's not just a flat thing. And how complex do these get, Jacob? Sometimes do people overcomplicate it, or do you encourage people to be really granular down to product level and margin level and cash and like price level? What's best?
Yeah, I think we have kind of a mixture of all of those strategies that Claudia mentioned on site at any one time. I think it is just about finding the right balance. If you're listing 15, 20 different rates on various different products from a member's perspective, that probably overcomplicates and confuses things. So I guess that's where we're slightly different in a publisher, in the sense that the commission is obviously member facing. Well, that's obviously not the case across most. So I think it is just finding the balance of how many different rates we have live at any one time. Which again, we're happy to kind of share any insights on if brands do need any kind of pointers around that and what we kind of typically see working best as well.
So is the sort of default position, Claudia, that we're saying is, well, I suppose actually I'm going to ask a different question first. What's the best type of retailer or brand for affiliates? Is there sort of like a sweet spot? And I'll give you both chances to answer this, but Claudia can go first. But it's like, is there a sort of perfect type of product, perfect type of price point that will just fly with affiliates?
Yes and no. So obviously there are certain products like fashion, for instance, like certain industries that do tend to perform a lot better than others. But I think one of the main things is like a brand being very open to kind of testing opportunities, having a budget dedicated to affiliates, and they can use for either commission increases with publishers or actually booking in like flat fee tenancy placements. I think that can hinder performance a lot if kind of brands aren't very open to trying new things. With affiliates, there's so many different avenues you can go down. There's content, there's CSS, it's not all just voucher and discount. So I think as long as a brand is very, very open, has a budget and, is willing to try new things, there shouldn't be that many barriers. Really, it's just...
Are there products that you've seen or you've tried, or sectors, and we just have to say, no, you just not bother, don't bother? It's just not a thing for you. Is there anything, any particular thing we've tried and it's not worked, and we wouldn't recommend it again?
I would say potentially very niche brands, because brands that perhaps don't have that high level, like a very high level of market brand awareness, sorry. So obviously with those, there's a lot of work that you need to do in affiliates in terms of building up the brand, building up the awareness, and that can take a lot of time, which can obviously be a bit frustrating for brands if they're not seeing those sales come through straight away. So I would say there's kind of like really niche targeted brands.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But potentially if I'm a shop that sells other people's brands and the other people's brands have got quite high brand awareness, it could work for me even if I'm a new e-commerce like store, because if I'm selling Nike trainers and other things, people are going to be looking for Nike and they probably don't really care where they're buying it from. They just want the best price. Yeah.
So in that case, it would be CSS publishers or like comparison shopping services. They'd be very recommended, because if somebody put in a search term for like Nike trainers, you would want obviously your website to be coming up. when people search that. So that's something that can be done through affiliates as well. They just work off your product feed and kind of bid on shopping terms that you're not bidding on through paid search.
And we can stop them bidding on certain things and control that, can't we?
Yes, we can, yeah.
Yeah. And Jacob, from your side, what do you think is like the perfect? I know that was a very good answer from Claudia. She hasn't given you much left, but what do you think is like the perfect client? And are there any clients you would deter from doing it?
Yeah, I think Claudia's summarised it really nicely. I think it's probably worth noting that we, as a publisher, whilst we're probably just seen as just cashback, there's loads of initiatives that we are doing, and I'm more than happy to explore as well. So
that's my next question. We're going to come on to that. That's we're building up. We're building up.
But yeah, I think just being open to testing and learning is probably the main things. Top Cashback is very much open. We have kind of 5,500 advertisers on site, ranging from B2B, insurance, retail, everything. So we kind of cover all bases in that sense as well. And I think we do kind of have a brand, hopefully, for kind of everyone, really. Wouldn't say there's any areas we don't go into.
I do think most people would think it's probably fashion e-commerce, beauty e-commerce, that sort of fast moving, people looking for a deal. But as you said, there's something in there for everybody with B2B, financial services products, all those sorts of things as well. One thing I think that often gets missed as well is what the opportunities are internationally. And it'd be good if you could just sort of explain, because again, a lot of you, one thing we've seen, and for my sins, I've been involved in UK commerce for over 20 years. And one thing we've seen, having set up a couple of different businesses in America before, the UK is pretty good, right? We're sort of ahead of the curve, I would say, in terms of data-driven, insight-driven digital marketing and e-commerce. But often people are a bit scared to explore international markets. And it'd be interesting to see, where does affiliates sit within that? And is that something we can test and learn? And how does that work, Jacob?
Yeah, so yeah, we are kind of live in a few more regions now. My role is primarily UK based, so I'm not involved too much in the day-to-day. But US is probably our second biggest market behind the UK. So that's quite a relatively mature site over there now. And then kind of this year and last year as well, we've launched into a few new regions. So we've got France now, Italy, Australia, already live in China. And then we've acquired a Swedish cashback site called Refunder. So they're the market leaders over in Sweden and Poland. They're kind of operating as their own brand still, but yeah, very much in kind of the top cashback group. So yeah, I'd say we all kind of operate separately, but if anyone kind of watching does want to go live and kind of explore our options internationally, then please do reach out, and I'm happy to kind of put you in contact with the best person for each country.
Yeah, so, and I suppose that could be quite a good way if you're selling, if your brand's well recognized, or you're selling brands that are well recognized, it could be a good opportunity to test the water, especially if you did a tactic like Claudia session before, maybe some like soulless emails or something, just to see, well, hang on, can we generate some sales? And then you're only paying if you generate the sales, rather than maybe sticking loads of money into an SEO campaign or loads of money into PPC. It might be a good toe in the water as a first step.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's worth noting a lot of the new ones are obviously not quite as, in terms of membership levels, not quite anywhere near where we are now. So exposure options and things are relatively limited at the moment. It is just kind of new member acquisition for those new ones, but definitely later down the line, that's something that would be a good option for brands to explore.
Yeah, and in terms of, we see this a lot is, and we get asked this question a lot about when's a sale, and how do, and we've talked to clients before, and they're not taking off returns, they're not getting into the sort of deduping and validations. How do you approach that with you guys? And I suppose we'll ask you first, and then Claudia can talk about what she does. But I think sometimes people have had a bad experience with affiliates because they've ended up paying a bill, but actually they get a 50% return rate. And it's like, well, that doesn't sound right to me.
Yeah, it's not something we tackle too much day to day. Again, it kind of generally sits on more of an agency and network level. So that sort of data we don't kind of monitor too much. I think if brands do have a really high return rate, or they're cancelling a lot of orders in certain categories or for certain things, then it's definitely something we want to look at. I think our kind of overall strategy is that we want people to be able to earn cash back on every purchase they make on an advertiser's site. I think it kind of comes back to the initial few questions where we're spending millions on marketing. If we acquire a new customer and straight away their cashback gets declined for what they feel is probably a good reason, they're probably never going to come back to us. So I think there's a lot of stuff, I guess, around that side of things as well, in terms of kind of.
I think it's about. I think you're right around consumer confidence. I
Exactly.
think I wouldn't mind not getting my cash back if I'd sent the product back, but if there was if I had bought it and I'd kept it, I'd expect my cash back. So I think there's about confidence. And how, I suppose this is where Claudia's job sits. How do we manage that for a retailer, and what levels of processes do you, Miranda and Joanna, go through to make sure that our actual end clients are paying the networks, who are then paying the publishers, the right amount of money?
Yeah, of course. So what happens is we have like a period where all the sales will be pending in the affiliate network. So this is before obviously the returns period is finished. Once the returns period is finished, because it'll be different for different brands, like some will be 30 days, some will be 60. We'll then cross-reference what is in the affiliate network in terms of the order numbers versus what the brands have got in their internal database, and look at which products have actually been returned and refunded. And then obviously all of those commissions will be cancelled or declined. And then what a lot of brands also do is kind of dedupe, which is something that you mentioned, John, against other marketing channels. So look at what's in Google Analytics to make sure they're not paying out double, kind of like double for each sale. So say if it's been attributed to another channel, then it wouldn't then be paid out to the affiliate. So that's kind of an additional step. Not every brand does that, but it is becoming a lot more common now. But then, like Jacob said, obviously we don't want to be kind of giving cashback partners or any publisher, for instance, a massive decline rate, because especially with cashback, it kind of, like Jacob said, affects the consumer confidence. But those are the main. Obviously, we're not going to pay out commission if an order's been returned because it's not been fulfilled, because you haven't got that revenue. And then a lot of brands as well are kind of deduping against GA, which is where kind of high decline rates can come in.
Yeah. Okay. And do affiliates tend to work better when someone actually is the brand, or can sort of marketplace or reseller websites make it work as well? Because I know we've got a lot of clothing brands who are the brand, but we've also got people who sell other people's brands. Is there an advantage if I've got a bit more margin? Is that something that gives me a little bit more wiggle room when it comes to affiliates?
Yeah, 100%. Having more margin can never hurt. So obviously having that capability to kind of flex up commission rates, to have budgets put behind because of margin. But if you are a brand that sells other products, you can, and you've got high margin on certain products, you can then look at that product level commission and look at offering higher cashback or higher commission on purchases on products that you've got better margin rates on. And then also with third parties that you mentioned, look at comparison shopping services to make sure that you're always being shown. So, you know, customers are coming directly to like a third party site rather than going to the brand.
Yeah. Would you agree with all that, Jacob?
Yeah, definitely. I think Claudia's kind of hit the nail on the head with that one, to be honest.
Yeah. And one thing, Mike, so Pete, we're coming up to peak. The last one we did of these, I think, was 2 weeks ago, and we talked all about planning for peak. And the guys got into all the different tactics, and affiliates is definitely one of the big tactics. What sort of special things are you guys doing coming up to the sort of festive period? So we'll do that first, and then I've got another question around sort of peak, and just sort of as we get towards the end of this, if anybody's got any questions around peak or around Christmas, what things have you got up your sleeve ahead of peak?
Yeah, so we've got a couple of new opportunities that we're kind of just launching now, ready for peak. So we've just redesigned our category navigation on the site, and with that comes a few new placements that are kind of suggested for each kind of category. So that's one of the new things. The second one is around app exposure. So historically, we've never offered any kind of bookable to brands exposure on our app, which obviously now is a huge channel for us, and I'm sure most brands as well. So yeah, we kind of wanted to offer something on there. So we'll be offering kind of the top level carousel on there initially, see how that kind of goes over peak, and then hopefully kind of into next year and beyond be able to offer a few more opportunities within our app as well. So those are kind of the main two, and then yeah, various other options that we've kind of always
and in the past, I think in the past you guys have done really nice gift guides as well, haven't you? And you like collate different products and all of that. And is that something that's predominantly email, or is that also going to be hosted on the site? How's that going to work this year?
Yeah, so the gift guides again will all be posted on the site. So I guess coming back to the are we stealing sales, that's I guess a good example of where we can actually be, to an extent, a content publisher as well. We can publish these gift guides. We've run what we call a brand spotlight blog this year, so kind of brands that are perhaps new to affiliates or Top Cashback, we kind of give them a space to say who they are, what they do, and that sort of thing, to kind of get their initial awareness on the site. So that's kind of content thing again is another area where we really think is good for cashback, and kind of shows that we're not all bottom of the funnel and can do other stuff as well.
Yeah. Claudia, anything we're going to be sort of advising our clients on coming into peak, either around their offers, their promotions, different things, strategies we're going to be suggesting for Q4?
Yeah, of course. So quite a lot. So I think the first thing is kind of having a sit down with the brand and working out exactly what your goal is. So what exactly is your goal for Q4? Do you want to grow market awareness? Do you want to grow revenue? Obviously, everybody wants to grow revenue, but what you want? Do you want to acquire more new customers? Is there a certain brand that you want to push, a certain product, and having that kind of set clear from the get-go, so that you know, so that then you can start looking at publisher activity based upon that. One thing that we are seeing a lot of brands want to do this year is not have just a strong November and no strong kind of 2 weeks in November, but have kind of a very steady period across the whole quarter. So looking at kind of how can we kind of spread out our exposure and actually encourage people to purchase in October, when a lot of people are kind of hanging on for Black Friday.
So we're gonna be pushing it earlier. We're going to end up pushing Black Friday in September soon.
I know a lot of brands, it creeps in a lot earlier every single year. But one thing that we're looking at with quite a few of our clients is running kind of competitions with certain publishers. So they'll kind of publish them on their social media or on like in a newsletter. And what we can do is actually give customers a chance to kind of win back what they've spent on the website. So just kind of really trying to kind of move people away from consideration into purchase, and kind of push people to purchase in October and early November, when a lot of people might be holding off to see what the discounts will be, just to make sure that obviously performance is a bit more steady, rather than, you know, having a really poor October, a really strong 2 weeks at the end of November, and then a really poor December again. So just looking at
just going back to my longevity or age in the industry, it used to always be about December, and people were leaving it to the last minute in December, and then we've all jumped off the back of America's idea of bringing this forward, and it's like, yeah, it's and if you talk to people like our friends at IMRG or Internet Retailing, so if you talk to Andy at IMRG, his view is it's not all extra, we've just moved a lot of it, but at least you've moved it forward and you've got it, and you know you've got it. So it's quite interesting to see, and ultimately I suppose that's the power of marketing, and consumers can be persuaded and influenced with the different messaging in the right platform at the right place at the right price, and all that good stuff. And I know there's a lot of concerns with marketing generally about, are we just getting people to buy stuff they don't need, and is it good for the planet, right? And I know, Jacob, you're doing stuff around particularly sort of a green initiative, and so if you could share sort of what that is, and if we're a particularly eco-friendly brand, we might have steered away from affiliates, but is there opportunities for us to sort of jump in there?
Yeah, definitely. I think kind of overall to your point, for us, it's about giving our members the choice of where to shop. It's obviously cost of living and stuff, it's hard times for a lot of people, so not everyone has a huge amount of disposable income, so not everyone again can afford sustainable or organic goods and stuff like that, as they are typically more expensive. So we kind of launched a green cashback category, I think tail end of last year. So we have relatively kind of strict guidelines on who can feature within this, and we actually use a third party, which is the Ethical Consumer Database. So they essentially rank a brand's sustainability in a number of categories. Providing they get a good enough score in this, then we're happy to include them. But yeah, if you do kind of visit the category, it's relatively limited, and it is kind of brands that kind of everything they do is based around the sustainability. So yeah, everyone in there is kind of very much sustainable focused. I think as well, it's a good place for a lot of the perhaps smaller brands that are perhaps shadowed out on Top Cashback with some of the larger and mid-sized brands. So it's a good place for kind of brand discovery, which again, coming back to kind of incremental side, if we can introduce people to new brands to shop with, again, it kind of shows that the incremental revenues we can generate. So yeah, I guess if anyone does have any brands that they feel would be a good fit for that, then do reach out, because we're definitely kind of keen to continue growing the category. But yeah, we've seen really, really good success off the back of it so far.
Yeah, and it's so we've just had a question in the chat, and it's like, if I want, am I too late to start my affiliates now ahead of peak? So it would be good to sort of answer that, I suppose, just generally from Claudia, and then specifically, I suppose, Jacob, from you on Top Cashback, and what's involved in like the setup, because I think people are thinking, right, how can I possibly turn on a whole new channel when we've only got 4 weeks until our biggest trading period? What's going to happen? So I suppose, Jacob, do you want to go with Top Cashback first, then Claudia can talk about the wider sort of networks and everything else we do with other publishers?
Yeah, sure. My answer is probably going to be a lot more simple than Claudia's here. But yeah, for us, all we really need is kind of an active relationship with an affiliate network. Again, we work with all of the big networks in the UK. So once you've kind of chosen who will be best for you, as soon as we have that, we can essentially go live. So as soon as we have all of the assets needed and the cashback rate and stuff confirmed, it's kind of a day or two in terms of turnaround to get yourself live on Top Cashback. There's no kind of costs or exposure kind of necessary to go live. It's very much kind of open to everyone, and we really do want to encourage everyone from SMEs to startups to large brands to kind of go live with us. There's no kind of limit on what brands we want to see on Top Cashback either.
And Claudia, if we got a client next week, never done affiliates before, wants to go live before peak, what do we say to them, and then what's involved, and what are the key steps in making sure it works for them?
Yeah, it would be tricky and not going to lie, because with setting up an affiliate network, that can, I mean, the first step we'll have to do is negotiate with the network in terms of what payment they'll be taking from you, because they're obviously not free to use. And then kind of getting set up on that network can take kind of 3 to 4 weeks just within itself, because obviously there's a lot that has to go on behind the scenes in terms of tracking and getting like a product feed uploaded. Then it's a case of kind of inviting the publishers you want to join the program, and then kind of reaching out to publishers to try and get them onboarded. Some publishers actually don't onboard any brands as they head into Q4 and just put everything on hold until the new year, because they just want to focus on all the brands that they've got at the moment. So it is possible, but it would be very stressful.
They'd have to do it tomorrow. They'd have to start tomorrow if they want to do it. Yeah, start now. And right, so we've only got a couple of minutes left, so that sort of time has absolutely flown by. What, I suppose, other sort of, is the general feeling, if you're not doing affiliates and you sell stuff online to consumers, you should be doing some level of affiliates? And how much incremental revenue do we think we could get from it?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Jacob. I don't know if you were just about to.
Jacob, I think, was going for the mute button, wasn't he? We could see it.
No, go on, Claudia. I was too slow.
Yeah, I think there's definitely value in affiliates for every single brand. I think the key thing is working out exactly what you want from affiliates and looking at the performance of your other channels. One thing I would recommend is not just running affiliates by itself as a marketing channel, but making sure that you're running other marketing channels. It should be working kind of in cohesion rather than in silo. But definitely an opportunity. And look at like what we do with any brands that come on board is we always look at kind of how much revenue we think we can get the affiliate channel to in terms of contribution. So by doing with that, we look at kind of what are the channels driving at the moment, look at kind of overall site revenue, look at kind of what the budgets are, what the opportunities are. So once you have all that information, kind of there's a lot that you can do in terms of kind of benchmarking or forecasting how much revenue you think could come from the affiliate channel. I think a lot of people kind of are surprised a lot of the times of how many affiliate potential partners there actually are. You know, there's hundreds of thousands, and you know, there will be something for every brand, really.
And I suppose the reassurance, if they were working, because people could just go and sign up to AWIN and join Top Cash Racks themselves directly, but I suppose the reassurance, if they were to come on board and use you and your team, is that they've got the confidence somebody's fighting their corner, checking everything all over the detail, because actually it is a bit more complicated than people think. Because there's a lot of stuff to do, especially around the tracking, the measurement, the validations, and all that side of it. And in the last sort of final, I'm going to do a little sort of summary in a second. But is there anything else we need to know from you, Jacob, about either Top Cashback or what's coming up?
I don't think so. I guess just following on from what Claudia said, I think I'd encourage brands to be open and honest with us as well. I think that advertiser to agency or network relationship is probably quite open, but I think share with us what you're looking to get through the affiliate channel and share your kind of wider marketing goals. So I think that really kind of helps us in terms of recommendations. So yeah, I'd really kind of encourage that open and honest chat, because we kind of do want to really build long-term meaningful partnerships. So yeah, just speak to us, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So, right, well, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in and listening. We've got, have a look on the Modo25 or Ask Bosco events pages for our next one. The next event I'm really looking forward to is on the end of September, well, towards the end of September, 22nd, we've got a digital bike ride, and we're going to be raising money for One More Child. And we've already got 30 to 40 people, mixture of agencies, brands coming along on Digital Cycle. Claudia hasn't signed up yet, I noticed. It's 70 miles in the Chiltern Hills, setting off from Henley. So if anybody fancies that, get in touch with us, or it's listed on the website. And also, if you want an audit / strategy for your affiliates, you just drop me an email, john@modo25.com. We'll jump on that, and Claudia and the team will get something over to you. So thank you for tuning in and joining us, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you very much.
Thanks.